This is the amendment to 1238.
Here you go.
Just make sure that we're on the same.
Yeah, 1238.
And members all have a copy.
We're doing it now.
The recommendation out of
Position?
committee was ought to pass with amendment. And you all have the amendment in front of you. The sponsor is Representative Cordelli. And it is 0735H. And we thought that this was a good bill. It allows parent access to the assessment results, and the Department of Education has no issue with this. They think that this is basically what they do anyway, but it just brings the website information up to date with the Smarter Balance, which is, it adds website and some other things that have to be, so read it and
Yeah.
All right, we don't have a motion, but Representative Cordelli, do you want to add information?
I'll make a motion on the amendment.
Okay.
It ought to pass.
All right, is there a second
Second.
for the Representative Grenier? Representative Cordelli, do you want to speak any further to the amendment?
Just that it makes a few additions and modifications to the original bill based on discussions with the Department of Education, as Representative Shaw said, to update it and maybe get away from the old paper-based booklet concept to the more online concept.
Thank you, Representative Cordelli. Representative Petrie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Madam.
Representative Grenier and then Representative Myler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I got a question. Now, would this allow you to, say, scan or photograph the materials?
Did that come up in discussion?
No, it didn't come up in discussion, but that would be something totally different.
All right, Representative Grenier?
I think I can add some clarification to that, Madam Chair. We have to remember that the statute already exists for parents to see the data. The purpose here is not to change the statute, but to allow parents to come in, not take, their student's assessment, which is their right already. There's a little bit of a question as to what will be available on a digital copy. That's not clarified, but nonetheless, at some point, that will have to be clarified. The other point is, presently, and in most broad-based testing, there are sample questions that are released that are sort of consumable questions. There are some that are not released. That's true with our present testing. And that's the second part of this, so that online conveniently we have sample questions that give you an idea what's going on. And it was not clear in our subcommittee what will be the product that parents can come and see, but that is going to be a product of the digital world, and it will have to be clarified.
Thank you, Representative Grenier. Representative Myler, you had your hand up.
My question's been answered, thank you.
Okay, good. Further questions relative to host the amendment? Representative Ladd.
Well, I'd like to pursue the line of thought regarding taking an assessment online. So a student takes an assessment online and the assessment is not coming from that particular computer, it's coming from somewhere out in computer land. Maybe from, who knows, Pakistan. So how are we ever going to assess that again? And this says a parent shall be able to access the pupil's assessment. Are we guaranteed we're going to be able to do that?
We're a
You're looking for
subcommittee
me for
here to answer
guarantees, I
that
don't
question.
guarantee much.
Would someone on the subcommittee, oh, I'm sorry, Representative Schmidt.
I would say likely not, because a lot of these test materials are proprietary.
Yep.
And are also
Okay? And
copyrighted.
they're gonna refuse to let parents access all the questions we're using to evaluate the students. I think it's not realistic to expect that. I mean, if you take the SATs, you can't later go back and say, I'd like to see all the questions again. It's not gonna happen.
Can I respond to that? I agree, and that's why I asked this question, and I know that in any test, and you have specific types of items you're trying to assess, there's only a bank of so many questions which arrive at, allow you to test for that, and eventually you use them up. And so, at what point do we not allow this stuff to go out? I think there is a real question and some confusion on my part in terms of language which is in here. A parent could come and ask for something that they're not going to be given.
Okay, Representative Grenier.
Madam Chair,
They're gonna table this too.
given that, the gauge is here from DOE, could we ask for the respond to that question?
Would you be available, Heather, to respond to it? Representative Lab, would you repeat your question, please?
So the question is, and I think you heard, the question is online and coming from some organization that's outside of the locale, the computer you're on. What guarantees does that parent have when they come back in to see the test or the assessment that their child took? And will that company that owns owns the test, gonna release those questions, seeing they only have X number of questions which measure that?
Sure. So there's, just to let you know, right now, currently, even with our kneecap, a parent can do some of those things. A lot of what is in front of you is in current law. So right now, if a parent wanted to see a kneecap assessment, that's why the booklet term is in there, or was in there, they can do that in a very secure environment. So they can't bring phones in and those kinds of things to take pictures of the assessment. Our expectation from Smarter Balance is that there will still, even though it's an online assessment and those kinds of things, we'll still know what questions were asked that particular pupil, because we have to be able to score their answers. So what questions were asked of that particular pupil, what answers were provided from that pupil in order to know how that student was doing academically. So we don't know what that format will look like yet. That's one of the reasons for the field test and those kinds of things that we're going through right now. And we'll certainly bring information back to you anytime that we have additional input from that. But our intent is just to continue to be able to provide that information to parents.
Thank you, Heather. Representative Lab, is follow-up.
For Ms. Gage. So when you're an 11th grader taking the SAT, or you're taking the PSAT, or something which is used, if the ACT or SAT become a statewide assessment for the high school level, what kind of guarantees do you have that you're going to be able to comply with the statement that we're trying to put in the statute here?
Well, I haven't had any conversations with the college board around that, so I can't just, have any conversation about that. We haven't had that conversation with them, or, we had that conversation with Smarter Balance, and those conversations are ongoing, but
So,
I can't predict what guarantees college board would have if we engaged with them in a conversation
I
around
have one last question that follows up. So does by our putting something like this into law limit our ability to use only those tests online which are going to provide this capability? Or are we now possibly eliminating use of SAT or ACT? If they don't want to comply?
Well, most of what you see in front of you is already in current law. And I haven't seen the amendment, but the last time you shared it with me, Mr. Cordelli, Representative Cordelli, it was in current law. So if this makes you uncomfortable, then we would have to change current law.
All right, Representative Bowman, then Representative Cordelli. Don't move.
And the reverse, wouldn't that then tell proposed testing people of saying, hey, yeah, if you want to give these tests in the future, this is the law you have to comply with? wouldn't that, I mean, on the opposite of what Representative Ladd had said, wouldn't they then have to comply with our law if they wanted to be a statewide test?
Well, certainly, I mean, that would be one of the items that we would have in our memorandum of understanding, is these are our state laws, and you must comply with these both.
And follow up? And doesn't pretty much, I can go to any bookstore and buy
Yes.
college SAT tests, which all the questions from the previous.
Just like we do with NECAP, College Board has released items and those kinds of things. But we develop more items in the, as we develop assessments for that purpose. So, going back, Representative Smith, with what you were referring to with, making sure that with the security of the items, that's the reason why, because we want people to understand what that assessment will look like, but we have to develop enough assessment items where we're not giving away the farm.
Right.
Okay. Representative Cordelli, you had a question?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that this is under the section for statewide assessment programs. So it does not apply to any local assessments or anything else, just the statewide assessment that we're talking about.
So right now, it wouldn't include SAT.
Right. Representative Ladd, did you say?
I still, I don't have an answer, and maybe you can help me. This says the pupils test, the pupil scores.
Right.
So I see that as the individual results that that child had, or those questions that child took.
Right.
So we're gonna make all that available regardless of what the proprietary, this SAT, the ACT says, that, no, this is not released.
Well, remember, we're not talking about SAT or ACT at this
If we go that direction though, if we go as a statewide level, great.
I haven't had the conversations
I'm
with them,
gonna
I'm
ask a
sorry.
question that might help.
Thank you.
Right now,
Mhm.
if my son takes a test,
The NECAP.
the NECAP,
Yeah.
I can request from the department to look at his test,
You would request it from your school, and the school would request it from us, but yes.
but I could go into but I wouldn't be able to take anything away.
No.
I could just look.
Correct,
It stays secure, it
Correct.
stays with you.
correct.
I can go in and see the questions and see the answers, and then I leave the room and it stays there.
Correct.
So it's not really going out anywhere to anyone.
That's absolutely.
What about paper pencil versus digital?
And that's what we're working with Smarter Balance on how we do that. Because every state, many states have this kind of provision in their laws. And so we're working out how is that going to work with an online version of this assessment. But we know that that's really important to us at the department to allow parents to do that, so it's something that we're working on.
All right, further questions? Thank you, Ms. Gates. Further questions relative to the amendment to 1238? The motion then is to pass on the amendment, and if there are no further questions, the motion was made by,
No, we don't have a motion.
oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Well, the motion on the amendment,
Right.
Representative Cordelli, yes, I
Yes.
thought it was, and it was seconded by Representative Grenier.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Not too spacey yet.
I am.
All right, first call the roll on the amendment, which is up next.
Representative Grassi,
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald.
Yes.
Representative Burke.
Yes.
Representative Frazier.
Yes.
Representative Spang. Representative Arsenault. Yes. Representative Schmidt.
Yes.
Representative Myler.
Yes.
Representative Bone.
Yes.
Representative Ladd.
Yes.
Representative Greenmore. Representative Petrie.
Yes.
Representative Willett.
Yes.
Representative Comerford.
Yes.
Representative Cordelli.
Yes.
Representative Grenier.
Yes.
Representative Harris.
Yes.
Representative Dial.
Yes,
19-0.
all right.
So
It
the,
just makes
All right, now we
now we
move
need
to
a
the bill.
motion, a motion of,
The motion, we made a motion on House Bill 1238 as amended by
Yeah.
Amendment 07.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'd
Representative
like
Cordelli?
to make a motion to pass as amended, as amended.
Yes, Representative Cordelli has made a motion, and did I see your hand up, Representative Grenier?
Oh, it can be, I'll say. I like to support my peers.
Yes, I thought I saw it under the corner of my eye, but then my eyes were continuing to engage. Are we
Sometimes.
Representative Cordelli, Representative Cordelli, you're recognized to speak to whatever you want to add to the previous discussion.
I don't think I have anything to add, I'm ready to vote.
All right. Anybody else have a question or comment? Madam Clerk, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, the clerk's ready to call the roll. The motion again is ought to pass as amended on House Bill 1238.
Representative Grassi,
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald.
Yes.
Representative Burke,
Yes.
Representative Frazier. Representative Spang,
Yes.
Representative Arsenault. Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Myler,
Yes.
Representative Bone,
Yeah.
Representative Glad,
Yes.
Representative Greenmore,
Yes.
Representative Petrie,
Yes.
Representative Willett,
Yes.
Representative Comerford,
Yes.
Representative Cordelli,
Yes.
Representative Grenier,
Yes.
Representative Harris,
Yes.
Representative Guile,
Yes.
19-0.
Consent?
Consent?
Representative Cordelli moves consent. Any objections to putting it on consent? Okay, then it will vote on consent. All right, the next bill and we want to deal with House Bill 1586, and then we'll jump back to 1587. Representative Grassi chaired the subcommittee on both bills. 1586.
Because we studied both of these bills at the same time and compared and contrasted endlessly, the committee recommended to send 1586 to interim study. And I'll deal with 1587 when we get to both.
So then, are you going to make a motion?
I will make a motion.
Representative Grassi moves interim study on House Bill 1586. Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Schmidt is second. Representative Grassi, would you like to speak to your motion?
Where these bills were so similar relative to student privacy, 1586 was a lot more comprehensive. It was larger. It also dealt with teacher privacy issues, which are quite a bit different from student privacy issues. The committee felt that we should look at the issues around teacher privacy and come back and frankly, 1587 would take care of the student privacy piece, so we wanted a chance to look at the teacher privacy along with some of the other issues in 1586 that were a lot more detailed.
Okay, all right, Representative Bowman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at these two bills, and are we putting the cart before the horse? Because, I mean, are we recommending then that 1587 be amended and approved?
That will be the motion when it gets
Okay,
to us.
because I'd like to know what that is before, so I know how to vote on 1586. So I'm just wondering, should we do 1587 first?
Well, 1586 is.
No, no.
There's a motion on the floor, so I don't know if I have to withdraw that in order to look at.
And the motion is interim study, and it is a more complicated bill.
We were concerned with unintended consequences.
Also, I had a call from Google in Boston about this bill. I didn't even know they were in Boston. Representative Greenmore, and then, who had their hand up? Representative
Thank you. One of the things that we were handed out today was this comparison
There are more
between
of them.
the two bills. I don't think Representative Bowman got this comparison.
I don't.
But in my comments on this, I just want to say that this is probably one of the best bills that we've seen with backup data that gives you all the information that you need on 1586. without having to do a whole lot of study. There is information here, and it's good quality information, and the bill is pretty much comprehensive. So my argument was, it's a comprehensive bill. Let's not take 2 bites at the apple, let's get one and get a good comprehensive bill. And that's what I think this is. You know, if you can study things to death, and it doesn't really, you know, you don't get any more information than you did when we looked at this today. So, I just think that this should be the bill to go forward, but now what the committee agreed to.
Thank you, Representative Greenberg. Representative Schmidt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the privilege of sitting on this subcommittee this morning, and I tried to clarify some thinking. And Representative Kirk, as everybody in this room probably knows, is a strong advocate for privacy. And 1587 is a very clean privacy bill with regard to student privacy rights and preventing the data mining and publication of personal information about students and the collection of it. It's a very clean and strong bill. And we got tangled up and spent a lot of time in the difference between the 2 bills, and the status of teacher versus the status of student in terms of privacy. A teacher is a public employee, they have a little bit less privacy, but nevertheless they're entitled to many privacy concerns. But to mingle them up in the same bill, we felt was just too complex and had some unintended consequences. You read the bill, it's very complicated. We said we really ought to study it and do a clean teacher privacy bill that protects the interests of teachers. So that was the basis of the committee's thinking of this morning.
Thank you, Representative Schmidt. Anyone else? Representative Arsenault was next.
Well, I was just thinking in regards to Representative Bone's concerns, that this covers teachers and students. And even if we vote now for it to go to interim study, and then we deal with 1587, if that doesn't pass or you don't like the amendment, there's still the opportunity to deal with student privacy within this interim study.
Representative Fraser and then Representative Cordelli.
Yes, I was on that committee also, and I was concerned with the possible unintended consequences on the students. My concern that I think was shared with some of the others on the committee is that this went far beyond, this bill went far beyond the normal data, the kind of information gathering that we are accustomed to. And it went into all kinds of new and high-tech forms of gathering information on students that many of us had never even heard of before. We think it is, the reason for interim study is that we think it really does need, it is important to study these things, but because it is so new and some of it not being done yet in New Hampshire, that we don't know what the unintended consequences would be. That is, there's some kind of information that needs to be compiled in order to protect students and make them safe. And we don't know, because we have no experience yet with a lot of the things the bill covers here on gathering student information. We just don't know what unintended consequences there might be in gathering that material that we really need to protect the students.
Representative Cordelli, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me touch on a few things. As Representative Kirk pointed out this morning, the bills are similar because he took my bill, made it his bill, and removed pieces. So that's why they're similar, especially when you look at the definitions and so forth. He did remove the teacher provisions, which I think I left in. We discussed that, and I wanted to leave them in because I thought that they were important. There are other things that I think were important that were removed in 87. For instance, making it available on the department's website, policies and procedures related to FERPA, parents' rights under FERPA, their right to inspect a student's educational record, the right for a parent to complain about what is in the educational record to an office in the Department of Education in Washington. Data security planning is removed, which is a recommendation of the Federal Department of Education. So is recommendation of the Department of Education, the Privacy Technology Center that was established by the Department of Education that deals with security breaches. If there is a breach of security, accidental, stolen information, whatever, of educational information, I have procedures in there for publication of security breach reports, for notification of those impacted by those security breaches. There is nothing in 87 that deals with a breach of security. We don't, it's up in the air, it doesn't even have to be reported if there is a security breach. So I think that's a very important differentiation. And in addition, something that came up this morning also, if you look at the fiscal notes, mine has a fiscal note that was troubling to me. Both bills have a similar provision for a data dictionary, unless the 87 amendment removes it. My bill, however, has a fiscal note saying that it's going to cost the department $320,000 to do that data dictionary. I don't know why there isn't a similar fiscal note in 87, but I've given up. I've only been here for a year, but I've given up trying to figure out how departments do fiscal notes, because I would rather not say my opinion on that matter. But as I pointed out this morning, the fiscal note is related to the development and maintenance of a data dictionary, which is one of the top requirements of, or recommendations, put it that way, of this Privacy Technology Assistance Center from the Department of Education. One of their top requirements. And I think the committee had a copy of that. In addition, when the state did their grant request for building the state longitudinal database, the large student-teacher database, they included positions in that grant request. One of those was a database administrator. Right at the top, their job function is to implement and maintain a data dictionary. So now saying that, they've got this database administrator from the grant, but it's going to cost $320,000 to do it, I throw my hands up.
Well, we have a motion on the floor to interim study House Bill 1586. Are there any other points to bring up, questions? Representative Spang.
Thank you. There are a couple of things that bothered me that I thought needed to be ironed out, maybe in the study we could do it. I'm looking particularly on page 5, line 9, where it says the department should not collect and maintain any of the following data in any student database. I remember during the hearing asking about, does that mean a database that identifies individuals, or is it collective data? And I think that is a very important thing to straighten out. And I noticed in 1587, they have a similar list, but they don't use the term student database. They say in any database, including SLDS. So I thought that was something that was important to straighten out. I also thought that there was some discomfort with the term predictive modeling. On page 2, line 19. No, I'm sorry, it's page 1, line 19. It talks about predictive modeling, using data mining methods to make predictions about future behaviors or performance. as I remember, the committee was a little uncomfortable with that.
So you feel more work
Interim
would
study.
help clarify that. Representative Cordelli, did you want to respond to that?
Yes, if I might, and I remember your comments, Representative Spang, and I did present an amendment to the committee this morning that included addition of the language student database into the definition along with state longitudinal database. And just in terms of data mining and predictive modeling, I found over the weekend, for anyone who's interested, in July, there is in London a 7th annual international conference on education data mining, and one of the topics will be graph-based educational data mining.
Thank you, Representative Cordelli. I raised the issue that Google raised with me. I had quite a conversation with Elizabeth Schwab of Google, which is placed in Boston, and she is a public relations person. And page 4, lines 23 to 31 was their major concern. And so I do feel that perhaps an interim study would help clarify what their concerns were, because they evidently do and distribute a lot of educational materials to our school districts, and Gmail as an access. And so I think that would be a contact that would be important to help move this bill forward.
I originally had a section in here that I removed called cloud computing, which is a large topic of conversation around Google these days, because there are a lot of districts using Google Apps, Google Docs, and there are recommendations from the Department of Education, National Institute of Science and Technology about cloud computing, and agreements that need to be put in place with companies like Google to protect the privacy. Because right now, you don't even know if that data that Google has is being stored in the United States. If it's stored out of the United States, who is in control of that data? So I intend to bring legislation forward next year that they probably will not like, related to agreements that are required for cloud computing.
All right, well, I think it's still something that I think that needs to be looked into. Yes, Representative.
So do nothing. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I think I and many people in the state are quite concerned about data. And I would hate to think that Representative Cordelli's extra effort to have a more comprehensive bill falls to no good purpose. And the question that I have of you is, if we pass the other bill, which seems to be simpler and more straightforward for students, are we intending after the study, because it would be too late for this year, to kind of peg a bill like this with what we're, because apparently it was his bill originally, so that teachers can also have their data protected, because I think that's also important. Is that where we're going here? Because right now, I would hate to see some of this data for teachers not protected.
Representative Grassi, you can respond to that. She chaired this.
The subcommittee felt that that would be an important part of the interim study, would be to come up with a comprehensive bill for teachers and their privacy. But as you can see in the work that Representative Cordelli has done, there's an awful lot of technical, I mean, we're educational experts, if you will, and there's an awful lot in here about security that I know very little about. And even though he did all this work, and there's a lot of research, as Representative Remore has said, I'm not sure I understand it all. And I think interim study would give us a chance to look at that over a longer term and be familiar with security terms as well as educational terms.
But if I might, a little follow-up, interim study with the hopes of incorporating a new bill that encompasses this,
We would
even
recommend
as a
future
separate bill.
legislation, yes.
Not hopefully interim study to hope it goes away.
No, no, and I know that's the difference between interim study and the first session, year of the session, and the second year of the session. But our intent was definitely to come up with a piece of legislation for a future session.
Thank you.
Yes, Representative.
And I too agree with Representative Grenier, because I was one of the co-sponsors on this bill, and I think it's necessary. And Representative Cordelli had a wealth of information relating to this bill. There are still some things that I question, now that I've heard other people, ask these questions, but we definitely need to not let this go by the wayside.
I've got a real concern, and I congratulate Representative Cordelli on his efforts on this. Just across the street from me, there's a nursing home, and they're trying to get their staff paid through Health and Human Services. The payroll's being handled in Pakistan. And all that personal data is flying back and forth, and it's, as you say, it's not in the United States or even Canada for that matter.
Right.
It's overseas somewhere, and I have concerns that we're talking about privacy issues within education here, but this is a huge issue of personal security of information well beyond education. I think we ought to be working with folks beyond just education on this. It's a horrible issue if it gets away from us.
And I think that's what the committee is asking for, more time to really look into what are all the possibilities. All right, if there are no further questions or discussion, I'm going to ask the clerk to move to call the roll on House Bill 1586. The motion is interim study, moved by Representative Grassi and seconded by Representative Schmidt.
Representative Grassi?
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald?
Yes.
Representative Burke?
Yes.
Representative Frazier?
Yes.
Representative Spang?
Yes.
Representative Arsenault?
Yes.
Representative Schmidt?
Yes.
Representative Myler?
Yes.
Representative Bohm?
Yes.
Representative Ladd?
Yes.
Representative Greenmore?
No.
Representative Petrie?
No.
Representative Willett?
Yes.
Representative Comerford?
No.
Representative Cordelli?
No.
Representative Grenier?
Yes.
Representative Harris?
No.
Representative Guile?
Yes.
13. No. 1, 2, 3, 14, 5.
Will there be a minority report?
Yeah.
Representative Cordelli? Okay, then why don't we, is the amendment to 1587? All right, move back up to 1587 and deal with it, which is relative to the collection and disclosure of future data.
Is that the one you were looking for? Just remember, 1587.
All of the material that was put together on
That amendment?
6 needs.
I'm just a cameraman. I don't know. There's so many, I can't. I don't,
This is,
I don't.
this is
Fast doors.
the secret amendment, wasn't it?
The secret amendment, oh, the secret amendment,
This is the amendment to
that we never got to see.
1587.
I tried to get it too.
I know.
Sounded like-
Representative Grassi will go over the amendment and let us know
Tell me
what
now.
the changes are.
Get
And
10 seconds to look at it.
Geez, I don't know from the original bill, I have a markup of the bill with the red on it, I just had
Yeah.
Okay. On page 2 of the amendment, and this is amendment 0839H. On line 27, there wasn't a word in there that this data shall be destroyed by the testing entity analysis, and that analysis has been struck.
We're on the original bill right now, right?
Oh,
I'm on the amendment.
Oh, wait, what did you say?
Line 27
On page 2?
on page 2. There was the word analysis in there. This data shall be destroyed by the testing entity analysis as soon as the testing entity has completed the verification of test takers. That word analysis has been taken out. I guess
At the very end here, is that?
there was
On the bill,
analysis
okay.
was in there.
So that's it.
24. It's on line 24 in the new amendment. Oh, yeah, the lines don't have.
All right, okay, that's getting confusing.
Right.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Representative. This data shall be destroyed by the testing entity as soon as the testing entity has completed the verification of test takers. Shall not be disclosed by the testing entity to any other person, and so on. So it's 24.
Line 24 there, and then down at the end of that paragraph, where it says, shall not be disclosed by the testing entity to any other person, organization, entity, or government, or any component thereof, other than the district, school, or school district, is an addition. And shall not be used by the testing entity for any other purpose whatsoever, including, but added, it's, the other than the district, school, or school district has been added. Down on section, paragraph 3. Well, and then it goes on to line 31. Any testing entity performing test data analysis. Testing there is an added word from the original bill. And then in section 4, we got some material taken out. There was, except as provided in RSA 193E:5 or pursuant to a court order signed by a judge, the department shall not disclose student personally identifiable data in the SLDS. And taken out was for any other database maintained by or under the control of the department. That was removed. To any individual, person, organization, entity, government, or component thereof, other than the student's district of residence.
But may disclose such data to the school district in which the school resides.
In which the student resides.
Yeah.
And section 6, at the very end of it, on line 6, the name of the recipient or entity has been added, or entity. Under student privacy, number 1, after the SLDS, there was, or in any other database maintained by or under the control of the department, that has been taken out. On that section, on line 22, under L, students' post-secondary workforce information, including the employer's name and the name of a college attended outside of New Hampshire. That last part of that phrase has been added, including the employer's name and the name of a college attended outside of New Hampshire. This is information not maintained by the department. And that's some of the changes. There are bolded letters on the last page that are changes in the bill that Representative Kirk made. His testimony to the committee this morning was that this was as tight a privacy bill as we could probably expect to protect student identity. He did say that he used a lot of material from Representative Cordelli's bill.
Thank you very much, Representative Clancy. Do you want to make a motion, or is there something on the amendment?
To pass, I would make a motion to pass the amendment.
Second.
039.
Did I hear a second? Petrie? Thank you.
That's a safe bet.
Further discussion on the amendment or questions? Representative Hyde, you had a question?
Yes, I do. I see that the change has been made to incorporate foster parent and legal guardian, where we only had parent before. That's good. What about the ability of, as we talked about, the ability to share this database with a student that's under age 18 that's in the House of Corrections? Can that occur? That was one of our questions.
You're getting a nod with the department if that can occur. That's in current law, right?
On page 1, on line 15.
Further questions or discussion on the amendment? Okay, the motion on the amendment is on to pass. It's been moved by Representative Grassi and seconded by Representative Petrie, and the clerk will call the roll.
Representative Grassi,
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald,
Yes.
Representative Burke,
Yes.
Representative Frazier,
Yes.
Representative Spain,
Yes.
Representative Arsenault,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Myler,
Yes.
Representative Bone,
Yes.
Representative Ladd,
Yes.
Representative Greenmore,
Yes.
Representative Petrie,
Yes.
Representative Boulette,
Yes.
Representative Comerford,
Yes.
Representative Cordelli,
Yes.
Representative Grenier,
Yes.
Representative Harris,
Yes.
Representative Guile,
Yes.
19-0.
Okay, all right, then now we look at.
What was the vote?
Oh,
that was just
no,
the
that's the
amendment.
amendment.
Oh, that's the amendment, I'm sorry.
Don't get confused. Now we will address House Bill 1587 as amended by Amendment 0839H, which, if you look at, is replacing the.
I move on to pass this amendment.
All right, Representative Grassi and Representative Bone. Further discussion? Yes, Representative Myler.
I should ask it when we're doing the amendment, but further question regarding the information that's not, the department shall not collect or maintain the following data in the SLDS. What about the medical records the nurse may have? How's that stuff handled in terms of some of our students which have severe handicapping conditions which require medical attention and prescriptions, et cetera, in the building? Where's that stuff stored? It says right here, no medical stuff.
This is the Department of Education.
Well, yeah, I know, but we have school nurses that have to attend the kids, which are, some are right on the brink of death. There's some that are carted in and out of there, and some you have to take to the washroom and help them, and
Right.
et cetera.
Right.
And give them various medications.
That material must be stored in the individual school departments, school districts. This refers to the State Department of Education.
Well, that's why I'm asking this question, is that a locally housed, even though the students may, for example, move between one building to another building or to vocational oriented location for a couple hours a day and then back to the other?
We live in the same district.
And within the same school.
Well, not necessarily within the same district. We have regional voc center or technical centers which are not, for example, where I am, our tech centers in Vermont.
Mr. Schwartz, are you able to help us with that question?
You want me to step up, or?
Yes. And Representative Ladd, would you repeat the question?
Thank you for taking the question. I think it's primarily dealing with the medical issue. How do we handle the nurses' medical records and those kids which are really in need of medication, doctor's prescriptions, require more than just your average school nurse to keep them alive?
So, Mike Schwartz from the Department of Education. As Representative Grassi, I think, started to say, those are held at the local school. So those are in the local student information in the school. It's not data that the state has. The only exception I might make to that is if it's something to deal with an IEP, then it could be housed within the IEP system, but that's not part of the SLDS, so that would not be restricted.
That answers my question on the IEP.
Are you all set? Thank you very much, Mr. Schwartz. All right, any further questions relative to House Bill 1587 as amended? Then I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative Grassi?
Yes.
Representative Shaw, yes. Representative Rosenwald?
Yes.
Representative Burke?
Yes.
Representative Frazier?
Yes.
Representative Spang?
Yes.
Representative Arsenault?
Yes.
Representative Schmidt?
Yes.
Representative Myler?
Yes.
Representative Bone?
Yes.
Representative Ladd?
Yes.
Representative Greenmore?
Yes.
Representative Petrie?
Yes.
Representative Willett?
Yes.
Representative Comerford?
Yes.
Representative Cornelli?
Yes.
Representative Grenier?
Yes.
Representative Harris?
Yes.
Representative Guile?
Yes.
19-0.
Consent?
All right, taking time. All right, so House Bill 1587 is 19-0, and any objection to consent? Well, we've been discovering that there are FN bills on the consent calendar. Ought to pass. Yeah. Representative Rosenwald.
Thank you. The bills are not supposed to go on the consent calendar if they have an appropriation or a tax or a fee. They can have a fiscal note.
And this is not an early bill, so not going to the technical meeting.
Okay. So I think we can put it on.
There's not an appropriation.
Try it.
All right, we all set? We move on to the last bill. And this is a continuing
starving. I didn't have
executive
lunch.
session on House Bill 1488, which is adopting the interstate compact on educational support for military children. And remember, we got into quite a discussion the last time, not so much about children coming into the state, but more so about children of military families going out of the state and into those states that are part of the military compact. Yes, Representative.
Yeah, I tried to do some research, I did some research over the weekend, and I also talked to Representative Burge on it. There doesn't seem to be an issue with looking on the military compact. I mean, the website's all concerned about receiving states. And it's not an issue now with New Hampshire, kids from New Hampshire, students going to a state that is part of the military compact. So it doesn't appear to be a problem. The state of New York is not part of the military compact, and they must have a whole lot more people in the military compact states than we do. So I tried to find something on the website, this is more on, and looking at the law itself and the amendment, it's more on what we do as receiving students, not for sending. So it doesn't really matter where they come from, if they're military students. It's just how we are going to treat them in our state and how other states are going to treat them if they belong to the compact or have similar rules. So the amendment, and that's a question, did we vote on the amendment or not?
No, we didn't, we got wrapped around.
Right, so, I mean, the research I did shows that there's not an issue for, because there's no issue now with students coming from New Hampshire going to military compact states. And looking on their website, I couldn't find any, basically all the questions are about the receiving, what do we do while receiving? They don't seem to, where the student comes from is not an issue, they still apply those rules.
Well, most of the other states are part of the military compact, so a student coming from any other state other than New York and New Hampshire would have a liaison in that state because their state is part of the military compact. I guess what we were trying to be absolutely certain of is if, and we have very few children, so I recognize what you're saying there, would our children of military families, if they moved to another state that is part of the military compact, would they have access to the same services as a student moving from, let's say, Vermont to another state?
Right, yeah, because there's no issue now, the compact just says what you, if a military family moves into your state, this is what you need to do.
Right, I understand
And,
that.
and that's being done now, it's not, it's the military, not the state, is the issue. So they're a military family, it doesn't matter where they come from, whether we don't have a compact with Germany, for example, and if somebody's coming from Germany, okay, a military family to some Vermont, for example, or if we do this amendment with our state, which are, you know, that it's not gonna be an issue. So it's, and I was like, I tried to find out anything, and I was, like I said, I did some research on the website and hunted and whatnot, and couldn't even find that being brought up as an issue.
No, but it's an issue with us, because we're very concerned about our, only 600 children
Yeah,
involved, but we're very concerned about what happens to them when they move to
Like
another
I said, I
state.
couldn't
Yeah.
find it.
Representative Greenmore?
Well, I believe when the testimony was given by the gentleman from the military, he said that we could amend the military compact any way we wanted to. It didn't affect anything, so I don't see how this amendment would affect anything. So, I mean, he explained it, that it was up to the individual states, not, you know, it wasn't an issue. They would follow whatever the state issues were, and they would, if you amended their compact, it didn't matter to them, as long as they had something in there that said, you know, they were part of the compact.
Right, but what we're saying is we're not going to be part of the compact.
But we are putting
establishing
an
a
amendment
national
establishing
program.
a program which would go along with their compact.
All right,
So I don't think that would be an issue.
all right, Representative Grassi has a question.
So we are going to put into state law all the accommodations for military families, children that come to New Hampshire. When you're part of the compact, I'm assuming that you have a liaison in your state for your families. We wouldn't have that for our New Hampshire families going somewhere else.
But they have it in Tennessee. For the families.
For the Tennessee families.
No, for the military families. That's what they were saying in that thing. They said that their liaison is in Tennessee.
Because Tennessee is part of the military compact.
I understand that, but he was the liaison
All those military
for all
families
those
that come in.
military families, so,
But
for any issues that.
I mean, I don't see any issue with the military in New Hampshire in setting up a liaison to do the same thing for those people coming in and asking those questions to the New Hampshire National Guard or whatever who runs this stuff, those questions, and, you know, we're not paying any liaison state money, and any of the states, and this doesn't ask us to do the same thing either, so those liaisons would probably be in the Department of Defense in the state.
All right, Representative Bauer has a question about Representative Spang.
I think the question that we were dealing with was not bringing somebody into the state, but if we're not part of the formal compact, when one of our current students